Hello, I'm Grant, and welcome back to Phrasal Verb News, where we use real news stories to teach you phrasal verbs and idioms in context. First, I'll explain the story in English, then I'll break down each phrasal verb with example sentences. Y para ustedes, mis oyentes hispanohablantes, voy a dar la traducción al español y un ejemplo para que quede más claro. Let's get started. Today's story is about the devastating wildfires in Spain. This summer has already become one of the worst on record, with over 300,000 hectares of land destroyed by fire. Entire villages have been evacuated, and more than 30,000 people have been forced from their homes. Sadly, at least 4 lives have already been lost, including 3 firefighters. Leaders from across the political spectrum have said they must set aside their differences and work together to solve the crisis. So, what's behind or causing this disaster? First, Spain is in the middle of a 16-day heat wave, with temperatures reaching up to 45 degrees Celsius. These extreme conditions have completely dried out forests and farmlands, turning them into tinderboxes. Fires continue to flare up day after day, often faster than emergency crews can respond. But experts say climate change is also playing a big role. Longer summers, shorter rainy seasons, and rising temperatures have brought about what some are calling an age of fire in southern Europe. And it's not just the weather. Poor land management makes things worse. In regions like Galicia, invasive eucalyptus trees that burn easily have spread widely, while rural depopulation has reduced the number of grazing animals. For example, in the past, cattle and horses naturally cleared undergrowth by feeding on it, but today that brush is left to accumulate and fuel the flames. Politicians are now under pressure to step up prevention efforts. That means better forestry policies, more investment in fire-resistant landscapes, and even returning to traditional practices like controlled grazing. Critics warn that if Spain doesn't act quickly, these wildfires could get out of hand every single summer. Now, let's move on to the vocabulary. And remember, I'll give you 2 examples and the translation in Spanish, and then ask you a question. Try to take a second to think about an answer to the question or an example sentence of your own, so you can start to use and understand these verbs right away. Let's get started. The first phrasal verb is set aside. This means to save something for a meaning or purpose, like set aside some money for a rainy day, or to ignore something temporarily. For example, I set aside some money every month for emergencies. Or the team set aside their differences to finish the project on time. En español es como dejar de lado o en el otro sentido reservar. Por ejemplo, dejaron de lado sus diferencias para terminar el proyecto. Here's a question. When was a time you had to set aside your differences with someone to get something done? Next, we have flare up. This means to suddenly intensify, to start again, or even become worse. For example, my allergies flare up every spring. Old tensions flared up during the contract negotiations. En español es como estallar. Por ejemplo, el conflicto estalló de nuevo durante las negociaciones. Have you ever seen a small problem flare up into a bigger one at work? Number 3, bring about. This just means to cause something to happen. For example, the new teacher brought about positive changes in the school. The merger brought about a complete restructuring of the company. En español es como provocar o ocasionar. Por ejemplo, la fusión provocó grandes cambios en la empresa. What recent changes have been brought about in your industry? Next, we have step up. This means to take stronger action or to increase effort. For example, she really stepped up when her friend needed help. The company stepped up production to meet holiday demand. En español es como reforzar o intensificar. Por ejemplo, el gobierno tuvo que intensificar los esfuerzos de prevención. When was the last time you had to step up at work? Lastly, we have get out of hand. This just means to become uncontrollable. For example, the kids' birthday party got out of hand after everyone had too much sugar. The meeting got out of hand when people started arguing. En español es como salir de control. Por ejemplo, la situación salió de control durante la reunión. Last question. Can you think of a situation that got out of hand in your workplace? So there you have it. A story that shows how wildfires in Spain are not just a natural disaster, but also a political, social, and environmental challenge. Leaders are trying to set aside their differences, but unless they really step up prevention efforts, these fires could easily flare up and get out of hand again in the future. So remember these expressions: set aside, flare up, bring about, step up, and get out of hand. They're not just useful for talking about the news, they're powerful phrases for talking about problems, teamwork, and solutions in everyday life. Muchas gracias por escuchar este podcast. I'm Grant with Phrasal Verb News. Thanks for listening, and come back tomorrow for more English and more news.